Namaste sab log. I am so glad to have with us today Vaishali Patel from Sanskar Teaching. If you are on Instagram and if you're following any Indian creators, you've probably seen Vaishali and the different things that she brings to the table about trying to bring Indian culture and specifically Gujarati culture closer to people. So welcome to the Invisible India podcast, Vaishali.
Thank you for having me.
We just want to jump right in and learn about your passion for teaching others Gujarati, for just hearing a little bit about you. So I know were you born and raised in India?
I was born and raised in India until I was 16, and then I moved to the States. 16 is probably not the best time to move anywhere, but out of country in a different culture. I mean, it was a big cultural shock for me. And I moved to a predominantly Caucasian area in Anaheim, California. And I wanted to have nothing to do with my Indian culture because I think part of it was I just didn't like being different. I don't think people were mean. They were very embracing of, but it's just those looks you get. And, at 16, you don't know any better. You're just a teen. So it was, for a long period of time, I stayed away from anything to do with Desi culture, Desi language, food, anything. I went to USC, moved on, got married. And then when I had my kids, I realized that I wanted them to learn to speak the language at least. So I would drive 2 hours because I live in San Diego and our temple's in LA. So 2 hours each way on Saturdays, just so they could learn the language and be around other children who were Gujarati. So I said, all right, let's just do it at home. And then I started my sister's kids, and I was doing it as service for a long period of time. And then when the kids were in high school, they're like, Mom, this is really good and you're good at this. Let's just turn it into something bigger. So it was actually my family who pushed me to create Sanskar Teaching. And of course, being from a traditional Desi family, there was this idea that first, I didn't have any qualification, meaning I don't have any degrees and, I don't have education degrees or a background. Sure. I got my bachelor's from SC in biology because I was pre-med like most Indian kids are. And then I got married and pregnant. And one thing I was really clear about was I wanted to stay at home when my kids were born. So I stayed home and raised my kids. And, it's nice to have the support system I do so that I've felt like, I don't necessarily always have to have a paper that says I'm qualified.
I love how your passion for Gujarati language and culture really is so genuine and it really comes through. And I see how you've brought that gentleness and that just kind of kind approach into the way that you also are teaching others Gujarati. It's not the traditional sense of, like you said, rato, ye, ga, 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 and like, just copy the things over and over.
Exactly.
It's more in context and in relationship and the things that really matter. And I think that's one of the things that is so appealing about what you're doing. Like who are most of your students now? Do you find yourself teaching a lot of Indian American families, or is it mostly non-Desis who are wanting to learn?
Yeah, surprisingly, it's actually everybody. Anybody who's wanting to learn Gujarati, and it's not limited to students or families just in America. We have global students. So we have teachers in Australia, in England, in South Africa, and, in the United States. And as we become a global family, we have lots of mixed families. So we have lots of students that have actually they're not Indian in a sense, that they don't have a parent who's of an Indian descent, but they're either dating or married or have one parent who's Indian, or they just want to learn the language. And it's also for those that, traditionally have been born and raised in Gujarati or a Hindi speaking family. But as they got older, and because they live in a country or a place where Gujarati or Hindi is not their primary language, and they're kind of losing the touch with the language and culture, and they want to bring more of that into their families.
It's very natural. It's very within the context of things that you'd want to know. And I just enjoy how you have like learning the rhymes, learning a song, learning some of the absolute basics. And I think that's where a lot of the other language programs go wrong. For example, when my first language school that I ever went to in 2007, the first page is कलम, ये कलम है. Like, कलम कलम कौन बोलते हैं? You know, आजकल आजकल
Yeah,
कहाँ बोलते हैं
nobody
लोग?
said.
पेन ही बोलते हैं.
कोई नहीं
कोई नहीं
बोलता
बोलते.
है.
So it's like, why is this the most important thing that you think? Page 1, I need to know kalam. This is a school-centered approach. You're wanting me to learn kalam because that's what you're going to talk about in school. That's not what I'm going to talk about in real life with people. It would be more important if I'm living in India of, you know, like, अच्छा ये सब्जी कैसा है और ये कितने का है, क्या दाम है, whatever it might be in the place that you're living, like, or it might be how to greet people. Namaste auntie, आप कैसे हैं, क्या हाल चाल है, आपका तबीयत कैसे है. Some things that are just natural. Why can't you know, and that's one of the things that I think, not like you need my validation, but I just really appreciated how these are the most important things that you're bringing into the program right away.
For sure. So. And one of the things I think that's helped me create this curriculum is because at Waldorf schools, we were surrounded by international students that were from different countries. And I actually really felt like I was welcomed in that space. I could walk in wearing a sari and nobody looked at me funny. It was more like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Tell me more about it. People wanted to learn. And same thing for language. It's more becoming a way to connect with people. And I think connecting doesn't have to be ka se kalam, you know, ka se kabutar. It goes beyond that aap kaise ho, aapki tabiyat kaisi hai. So one of the things that we incorporate in our live classes is we do this thing called a dada dadi homework. So younger students and the younger classes are encouraged to have this conversation with a native speaker. So they could get on FaceTime or, you know, technology is wonderful. We could connect however, but to actually practice speaking Hindi with their grandparents.
That's wonderful.
You know, so making it more practical rather than just by the book.
Yes. And that's where so many of the students, I imagine, that might be one of their motivations, is being able to connect with their grandparents in a more close way. So that just brings it right to the point of even if they fail, which I'm sure many of them don't, even that gesture of saying, I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to talk to my dada dadi, and this is something that's part of my program. I'm sure their dada dadi just love that.
Oh, yes, they
Chalo,
do.
हमारा बच्चा कुछ सीख रहे हैं, ये लोग कोशिश तो कर रहे हैं. That's
exactly. Yeah.
In and of itself brings them closer, accomplishes the purpose in
for sure way. Yeah, and I think as this is my favorite part of the whole program is getting to create the curriculum, and I work on it every single term. So our full curriculum is 5 sessions long for each level. And each session, I sit down and I figure out what can I learn from the previous session and what's working and what's not working. And making it, you know, not just conversational, but more fun. So it goes beyond just learning the language, because there are festivals that come around. There are traditions we explore. Why do we do this? You know, because we're in that generation where we want to know. Our parents just followed things because they were told to do it. Now we want to understand so we could do it with a deeper understanding, you know.
That's such a great point. I think that what you're doing, it is really meeting the new generation where they need to be met is why do we do these things? That's because people are, you know, especially if you live outside of India, people will ask you, people don't automatically know, why do you bend down and touch the feet of your elders? Like, isn't that kind of degrading? You're like, exactly opposite of that. You know,
exactly.
So knowing why we do that, you know, so that's really interesting how you bring all that in, and how you're cognizant of that really felt need that a lot of, especially I think Indian Americans, Indian Canadians, even, you know, Indian British, probably, you know, diaspora people all over probably feel.
Right, definitely. I just feel lucky that I get to do this work. It's one of the best things that I get to do and explore. I would love to share this little, it's a Gujarati bhajan, but this is something that I revert to when I'm really stressed out and I need to rely on my faith, to feel like I'm anchored. And I'll tell you the meaning of the bhajan in just a second, but I'll just sing a couple of lines for you. हरि ने भजता हजी कोई नी लाज जता नथी जानी रे जेनी सुरता समड़िया साथ बदे वेद वाणी रे हरि ने भजता हजी कोई नी लाज जता नथी जानी रे. So what this one means is that the one who has trust and faith in God will never be left alone. Will always have something to rely on. It's one of the things that I sing around the kitchen when I'm cooking, when my mind's all over the place and I need to kind of ground myself. And bhajan singing in general, if you've been following me, so you know that it's something very close to my heart. I love singing. I'm not a professional, but I feel like it's a great way to connect with, the divine and the supreme power. So it's wonderful.
बहुत सुंदर, बहुत खूबसूरत गाना है, बहुत खूबसूरत भजन है. Thank you for sharing that with us. I just want to thank you again for coming on and thank you for what you're doing. This is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because I can sense your genuine passion and how contagious that is. And I really, one of the things that I'm trying to do with this show is elevate people who are doing those kind of things. I don't want people to, people ask me, oh, can you teach me Hindi? I'm like, why would I do that? I am also a learner, not to mention just connecting and understanding the larger context of Indian culture and respecting where the people from who this really comes from, the people who this belongs to. And so with that, you've offered to give a discount for people who are listeners of our show to the different programs you have. And so all the links, everything are going to be in the description of the show notes on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere that this is. It's going to be on our website. And this is a really amazing opportunity that you're giving. And I believe that the code is Invisible India. If you go and type that in, you can get 15% off of any of the courses. The things that I have seen on the website are beautifully done videos and materials. And you also have products too, which are on there, which is really fantastic. So,
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I am so impressed with the work you're doing. And one of these days, I'd love to have a chat with you. How, you've embraced the culture wholeheartedly, not just with the language. And, you definitely have an old connection, in your heart to India. And thank you for doing what you do. And hopefully we'll get to do this again another time and we'll chat some more.
Would love to. Thank you so much, Vaishali.
Thank you.